Welcome to Family Business World. I'm your host, Dr. Dale Caldwell. We have another really interesting show. These are folks that I haven't met before, but the Chowansky family, and I want to welcome you. Thanks so much for coming today.
Well, thank you for having us. Great to be here.
And Margo, Lisa, and Corrine from the HC Contractors, or Constructors, I'm sorry, HC Constructors. And so, you know, you have an amazing business and you're doing some wonderful things, but as I always do, I like to begin with the origin stories. So, Lisa, how did the business get started? What's the history of the business? And then I want to hear all of your histories as well.
Okay. Well, the business was really started by my father-in-law, Harry Chowansky. He was an operating engineer, which is a local union within New Jersey that performs like equipment operation. And he worked for many years for a very large construction company that was also based in Linden, New Jersey, called Mohawk Construction. No longer in business, but it was really he had 5 children, and it really was his dream to have a construction company. Now, working, having 5 children, putting them all through college, he never really was able to step out of his work and into his own business, but he really wanted this for his children. So he developed this company, HC, and he kind of brought it out to his 5 children, and only one of the 5 was really interested. And that was my husband, Harry. So everybody else kind of said, hey, no, we don't want this. We're doing our own thing. We're perfectly happy with what we have, so we're not part of that dream. But my husband said, yeah, I'll do this. I'll step into this role. And at the time, I was working for Johnson & Johnson. So, we both grew up here in New Jersey. I was working for a New Jersey-based corporation for 10 years. And at the point in time, we had 3 small children. I was doing a ton of traveling for J&J. And Harry said to me, you know what, let's combine forces here and, take this company to the next level. So that's what we did. At the time, Corrine was 1 year old when that happened. So we've been in business for a while. And that's kind of how it all started. And from that point on, that was in 1997, although the company was established in the 1980s. From that point on, we just kind of didn't look back and continued to grow the business to where it is today.
Wonderful. Again, I just love the family business stories. And so Lisa, now where did you go to school before you got into J&J?
So I went to school at Penn State. Okay. I really had no interest or desire to move into construction. Right. I was in a health field. I was enjoying what I was doing. I started by being part of their employee health and wellness program, and then I moved into an account executive role, which at that point I was doing a lot of sales and contract management, and it was a good, it was a great job. But I think we kind of got to the point where we realized if we worked together, we could build something specific for our family. Right. I was giving a lot to J&J, which was great. They were giving me a lot in return. But, at some point you kind of look and say, hey, the more we put into this, the more we'll benefit from it. And so that's how we ended up taking it to that point.
Wonderful. And I ask those questions because, there are folks out there who are just starting a family business or they've been there for a while and they want to know, how did everybody get involved? And I'm especially interested with the kids, how they got in. And so Corrine, tell me, where you went to school and what did you do before you got this job? And I want to hear Lisa's story too. I mean Margo's story. Yeah.
I went to Marymount Manhattan, which is a small liberal arts school in Manhattan, obviously, and I was a dance major there, and I also had a double major in business, so my whole childhood was really focused on ballet, which was really awesome and nice, but then when I graduated...
well, that's a perfect training for, construction, so, ballet, same thing, so,
It is very nimble on my feet, so it's good. But I think I really took that discipline that I learned from dance and having a double major in college. And then I started working for a global advertising agency called Cara, and I worked on the Pfizer account. So kind of similar to my mom in the healthcare field, but doing the ad end of it. So I worked there for almost 2 years, was really enjoying it. It was great during the pandemic because we held our job the entire time because we had a lot of work to do for them. But then I just kind of came to a point in time where my sister Margo was working for HC. And I think I really wanted to go into that you eat what you kill mentality. And I really wanted to work hard for myself and see that return similar to how you felt. So then quit my job there and started working for the family business. So I'm currently the marketing manager here.
Wonderful, but that's great training. And so Margo, tell me your story now. Did you first work out of college? Where'd you go to college, and how'd you get into HC?
So I went to Florida Southern, which is in Lakeland, Florida. It's right between Tampa and Orlando. And to be honest, I mainly went there because I got on the soccer team there, and I got a small scholarship educationally. And I was kind of always undecided throughout college. I always majored in business. And then toward the ends of college, I ended up interning with a large general contracting firm down in Florida. And I kind of was mentored by their safety director, and I got really into health and safety in regard to construction and OSHA regulations and things like that. And then near my graduation, both my parents kind of said, we haven't had a health and safety manager here for a few years. Why don't you come manage that for us? And so when I graduated, I started doing that a few months after graduation. And to be honest, I just really loved it, and I loved the responsibility. And same to what they said, whatever you put in, you're going to see the results of that. So it's a really great and rewarding thing.
Well, wonderful. I mean, you're just an amazing family. And one of the reasons I do this show, and I'm obviously at Fairleigh Dickinson University, and we've created something we call the Family Business Week, which is the fourth week in October, is that family businesses are really the backbone of America, and just what you've done and what you do there. And as we went through the pandemic, people don't realize that when family businesses are shuttered, everybody's unemployed. And it's particularly hard, on family businesses. So first, I want you to tell the audience a little bit about your business, what you do, and then tell me what's gone on over the pandemic.
So HC Constructors is a heavy civil site contractor. We do a lot of underground excavation, grading. We do concrete work. We do underground utility. Kind of all the underground infrastructure that happens before the building goes up. So we're putting pipes in the ground, we're putting concrete in the ground, we're doing foundations. We do a lot of work for the utilities. We do a lot of work for pharmaceuticals in New Jersey, which is why safety is so high, is a real high priority for our organization, because the standards at the pharma plants are very high. So that's the type of work that we do. We've done a lot of work for higher education, for the utility companies, for private industry. We do some public work for the Port Authority, New Jersey Transit, but those are kind of our major markets and who we work for.
Well, that's wonderful. That's amazing, amazing work. And so during the pandemic, I mean, did your business slow down, or were you able to kind of work through that because of the contracts that you had?
We did have contracts in place. We had a lot of contracts put on hold, which was a very frightening time, I have to say. The only contract that continued was our contract with American Water. Okay. So it was interesting because we had never worked for American Water previously in our entire history. And we were trying to get into that company to do some work because they do obviously a lot of underground infrastructure. So we had a brand new contract with them. And it turns out that during the time of March, April, May, that was the only contract that continued to work because It was deemed essential. It was people's water service. Right. Obviously, it wasn't going to stop. And it was outside. I think one of the advantages of our work is that it is outside. So we're not inside painting or doing HVAC. We're digging in the ground. So typically, we are by ourselves. We're not indoors. And that really was to our benefit. Who would have thought? You really don't know. During a pandemic, it's not something you ever anticipated. I never did. But that worked to our advantage. And so we had a pretty significant slowdown that second quarter of 2020. And then it picked up from there. And now we're kind of coming into this whole lack of supply, lack of material, lack of labor kind of fallout from the pandemic that's now kind of a delayed reaction, but is really pretty significant at this point in time. And then there was all the things that were going on internally, which Margo, being a brand new health and safety manager, really had to manage daily checks, masks. We had to set up, why don't you speak to some of the things that you had to do during the pandemic? It was pretty significant.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was just constantly managing our health and safety program and our pandemic preparedness programs as well. It's just, it's difficult because when you have OSHA regulations that you follow, there are certain regulations that won't change for years, and you have to follow that same rule. And with the COVID pandemic, it was very difficult because 1 month you have a set of rules, and you have 55 people out in the field, and you say, you guys need to follow these exact rules, and every single day you're trying to reinforce these rules. And then 2 weeks later, it's like, hold on, forget everything I said, follow these now. So it was just a constant having to check in every single day. And also managing people's health is very stressful, in general. And then to put this pandemic on top of it was just another added layer of, really, really having to be thorough and care for people. So it was definitely a great test for me, but I'm pretty happy. I think we did a good job managing the health and safety of our employees during this time.
I mean, it really sounds incredible. I mean, this is, you couldn't have a more difficult time to deal with health and safety. So you've got baptism by fire, as they say. So, we're about to take a commercial break for another couple minutes. And once we get through the commercial break, I want to come back and talk a little more about contracts and marketing and how you're growing the business. So,
sounds great.
Great. So we'll see you all right after the break. Again, this is Family Business.
Boardwalks built for fun. Legendary rock and roll clubs.
This is how we do it. Hip hip hop.
Casinos by the ocean.
Hip hip hop.
Now that's New Jersey. 130 miles of beautiful beaches, solid rock, and everything in between.
Look in the window.
Now that's New Jersey. Plan your New Jersey trip at visitnj.org. Waves of fun. Nights of excitement. And a trail of memories. Now that's New Jersey.
This plus this equals this plus this and this. Don't drink and drive.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Welcome back to Family Business World. I'm your host, Dr. Dale Caldwell. We're with HC Constructors. And so I want to, really, you have an amazing business, and you've done a great job weathering the storm, if you will, the pandemic storm. So how are things going now? How is your business and marketing and other things as you move through 21?
Yeah, so I think the business right now is really busy, and I think I kind of came into a unique role with marketing where you guys never had a marketing manager before I stepped in. And I think construction is interesting to market because there's not really a consumer good that someone's going to buy off of Instagram or Facebook. But at the same time, to get your name out there and participate in networking events is really important. And I think post-COVID, everyone is really excited to be going to events, excited to be seeing videos of buildings going up and foundations going in. So I think I'm just really trying to keep our name and everyone's ear and just really reinforcing the work that we're doing and highlighting our employees too, which I think is great for just overall happiness at HC. And I think everyone has responded well to it with like the foremen, the PMs who probably aren't on LinkedIn or Instagram or Blue Book really doing a lot of social media things, but I think it's really interesting and fun for everyone to see how you can take your business to another level just by doing a little bit of marketing.
And you're a woman-owned, a woman-certified business in New Jersey, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and so I mean that's unique in and of itself. And so one of the things, as I said before, I'm at the Rothman Institute, but I really have been encouraging legislators, the governor's office, and others that public agencies that get state money, they don't have to mandate that they work with certified businesses, certified women-owned, minority-owned, and veteran businesses, but they should report on the website what percentage of their dollars they're spending with New Jersey certified businesses. I really think that's just the right thing to do because there's so many great businesses that have been kind of closed out of the old, the old network of the same old companies. And so we see your company, which obviously is young and up and coming and probably uses state-of-the-art stuff to get it done. We've got to do more of that. Now, I also know you give back to the community. So talk a little bit about some of the nonprofits that you're giving back to and some of the things you're doing as a New Jersey business.
Sure. Well, one of the things we're one of the organizations, a nonprofit that we're very active in is Professional Women in Construction. So that's a very unique organization that helps support, connect, and kind of integrate women into, just to provide them with their own networks within the construction industry. Women make up, I think it's 9% of construction currently. Wow. So we are definitely underrepresented in the industry. And it just gives us, I've taken a leadership role with that organization for quite a few years just to try and build the organization and to really reach out to people within. It's a difficult task because it's hard to find the women in construction. But that's one thing that we've all been very active in and continue to invest ourselves in that organization in an effort to really grow attention to the women that are in construction and their contributions to that industry. In addition to that, I serve on the New Jersey Supplier Diversity Development Council, which is a government, I won't say it's a government agency, but it's a group that works between the Board of Public Utilities and diverse businesses to try and the utilities to try and get that, just like what you were talking about, to try and get that connection. A lot of work to be done still. I mean, I see so many great things happening, but there still seems to be those gaps, like bridging the gaps of really getting, like you're saying, diverse suppliers, whether they're minority, women, or veteran-owned businesses, or disabled veteran-owned businesses, to really bridge those gaps and create those opportunities seems to be a pretty difficult task, and I'm not sure why. So I think it just takes people like yourself and myself to continue, and all of us to continue to really, pound that drum and make sure that there's enough attention to that so that opportunity is created for everyone. It's a very diverse state. I grew up in this state. My father went to Fairleigh Dickinson on the GI Bill. My mom went to Montclair. So we're Jersey all the way, and I want to keep it that way. But I also want to see the state really thrive when it comes to diversity in business. We also are involved in the Vietnam vets. They have a big memorial, and their story is pretty untold as far as, you always hear about the greatest generation, but there was a whole generation of people that contributed and sacrificed a lot for continued freedom across the world. So we're very involved in that. We help them as much as we can. My husband, Harry, who's also in the business, serves on their board.
Okay.
And we've done some work for food pantries recently. That's been kind of a high need area for during this pandemic is supporting food pantries and just moving their food. There's a lack of truck drivers right now, so we have truck drivers, and they need us to move, just to get this food to where it needs to go seems to be a bit of a challenge. So we've done all that. We'll continue to do that. We're vested here. We want to be a part of the success of New Jersey in addition to the success of HC. So we do contribute outside just, putting pipe in the ground. We do some other things too.
Well, you're a model New Jersey family business, and I do a lot of leadership training and consulting, and even some diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting. And part of the challenge is that when a group has privilege, equity seems unfair. So what I mean by that is that groups have controlled the contracts, and if a fair proportion of folks who are different have those, they think it's unfair. And it's just human nature. And so part of what government needs to do to really lead is to understand that and said, we have to have equity. And which means that we have to be fair. And it's good for New Jersey to have a whole bunch of different people doing things. All the research shows diverse teams, perform much, much better. So, but one of the things, I've worked with a lot of underrepresented groups over the last year, and one of the secrets that, as much as we hate Zoom and all the other video platforms, that has become a very powerful tool to connect people. And so one of the things I might suggest is that as you get some of the women in construction, the 9%, maybe even have a monthly Zoom call. And you can start to develop a relationship. I did this with another group, and we just did an event in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where for 8 months we were planning this thing, and we didn't meet each other, all from all over the country, until the Saturday before, the Sunday. And so that's something to really think about, as you're looking to grow. And so, how many employees do you have?
We currently have 50 employees.
Okay, so you have 50 employees. Do you anticipate that growing over the next?
I think it will grow over the next, between now and year end. I think it will grow, primarily because we have a lot of contracts that we need to be able to deliver, and they need to happen between now and the end of the year. So I anticipate that's probably going to go up to about 75 at its peak.
Wonderful.
Corrine's a new hire for us, and actually a new position, because we really didn't have a marketing manager. But it's interesting to me, how much additional attention we've received just by being a little more present on social media, a little more concerned about keeping our website up to date and relevant. And just like you're saying, during a pandemic, these Zoom calls, I think Zoom networking is fantastic, really? Because it gives you an opportunity, even if you typically as a female, you walk into a male-dominated room in construction, and those people are all kind of off in their groups talking, and you feel like an outsider. That's the bottom line. But on Zoom, there's, Zoom rooms, like you get 6 minutes, everybody gets to talk, and then you switch to the next room. And that networking, I think, is very effective. I would agree with you on that. Very effective for the population that doesn't, that maybe is newer to the game, or, it's a new business to the game. And it really gives you a more equitable opportunity to network and to talk about what you do and who you are. And it's interesting how that's benefited. So I would agree with you on that.
Well, one of the realities is, and we could talk for another hour, but we have just a few more minutes. But one of the realities is that people who are part of the minority group who are working are obviously high performers and are working their tail off. So they can't go to these meetings, these networking meetings where you show up for lunch. And so Zoom allows you to kind of work hard and do this. The other thing I'll say is that I'd love to take this picture, and I'd love to take this picture and put it on social media and ask people, what industry are these 3 women in? And I guarantee you have nursing, and you'd have, construction would be the last thing that anybody would have, looking at the 3 of you. And I love it, and that's the beauty of America, is that we need people who look and act and think differently. So good. How do people connect with you if people are looking for your business or trying to do anything? So what's your website and what's your contact info?
Yeah, so our website is hcconstructors.com, and we have like an inquiry form there that I check daily. You can also reach out to us through LinkedIn. We're HC Constructors Inc. on LinkedIn, so that's also checked daily. And you can also feel free to call our office number anytime you want, and that's also listed on our website.
And I threw that out. So you, as a social media, you may want to do that. Just to put this picture up there. And to survey, what are the, I have a 16-year-old daughter, so I have and my daughter says, Dad, girls can do everything boys can do, and I say, you're right, and so we just need more of the role models. So I want to thank you very much, HC Constructors Inc., the Chowansky family, and this is Family Business World. Thank you for watching, and we will have another interesting show next week. But thank the 3 of you for coming on.
And thank you for having us.
Take care. Have a great day.